translate that need into a voting issue. And we took 20 million people and we targeted the 12 worst votes in Congress, labeled them the dirty dozen, and in the next election, 7 of the 12 were defeated. What happened? What happened is a time-honored tradition in politics. The survivors had their spines stiffened by the loss of their colleagues, and they voted for the Clean Air Act, Safe Drinking Water Act, Marine Mammal Protection, Coastal Zone Management, and Richard Nixon signed something we didn't even have in America into law, the Environmental Protection Agency. It all came out of that. So I think that without any arrogance or any sense of aggrandizement, I think my book is actually a roadmap for how we deal with where we are today and how you can beat back powerful forces if you organize around the truth and make things happen.
Well, let's talk a little about that. It's really interesting in particular to read your chapter that's entitled The Old Senate. You talk about the people you were able to make relationships across the aisle, and including one who you might not have easily found common ground with, and that's John McCain. Because he was a Republican, his Vietnam experience was different from yours.
So different, yeah.
And there had to be, and you talk a little bit about.
Well, I do. Well, I think Ann, that the old Senate was a very different place, but it worked. The current Senate is also a very different place, and it doesn't work. And it's sad. I spent 28 years there. I hate talking about the Senate that way. It's dysfunctional. Washington is dysfunctional. The Congress is dysfunctional.
Is it just the politics, or
No,
something intrinsic?
Yeah, no, it's with all respect. The rules of the Senate haven't changed. The Senate that allowed me to go to a dinner at Ted Kennedy's house with Orrin Hatch, Mac Mathias, senator from Maryland, John Warner from Virginia, all Republicans, and laugh and respect each other and have fun and tell stories, but also be serious. Talk about healthcare, talk about, major missiles, Russia, Soviet Union still. That was a Senate where you built the ability to do things based on relationships. And you had time to do it. They don't have time to do it now. They're on a perpetual chase for money. One of the single most important things we can do to restore America is get the big money out of American politics. The second most important things we can do is stop being a country where we have gerrymandered districts where you can't have a general election. Gerrymandering is stealing our democracy, literally, together with the money. And, I'd ask anybody here, I don't know how many of you have your own page in the tax code. But the tax code is this tall, and you pile it up, tens of thousands of pages, and a lot of people do have their own page, a lot of entities. So people who have powerful lobbyists have been able to go to Washington, they get their pages, and it completely distorts what you're trying to achieve and people's credibility and willingness to believe in the system. But here's the gist, the heart of it, my friends. What's really happened is not that the rules have changed in the Senate or in the Congress, by and large. Yes, there's a change in the judicial appointment process where it's gone to simple majority versus the filibuster capacity to stop it. And that's not insignificant, but it's not what's changed the Senate. What has changed in the House, what has changed the Senate and the House are the people. Just the people, types of people with attitudes. And you have to have a particular attitude to do what John McCain and I did. And I'll come back to it in one moment if you permit me. But you had people, it really began in the 1990s, 1994 with the Gingrich Revolution, the Contract for America. Then we started to see a different type of person come over from the House to the Senate. And then it went to the Tea Party. And then it went to the Freedom Caucus. And then it went to the current president and administration, which was effectively a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. Now, why did that happen? for reasons that the president actually tapped into. Because people, right, left, and center, are legitimately so disappointed and so angry at what is happening in this dysfunction, knowing that people's interests are not being served, that it's all party, it's all power, it's all protecting the president. And I found it absolutely astonishing that former colleagues of mine who sit around and talk about everything that you will read about in Woodward's book, Fear, or everything you read about in Wolf's book, Fire and Fury, everything they talk about, they say, well, privately, oh my God, this is terrible, this and that. But when it comes to, push comes to shove, they stand up and they will protect power, personal power, party,
But that's
and
just because of
president
the people,
over.
or is it because they're required to? There's an effort.
Yeah, but that's because you have an ideological
Whole.
enforcement police today. And you have colleagues threatening colleagues with primaries. My former colleagues today fear a primary far more than they fear the general election.